The Knicks dropped their fourth in a row after a 125-116 loss to the Raptors last night. And there's a lot of Knicks talk trending on my Twitter right now. So let's bring in Danny B of the Knicks Wall, who talked about all things Knicks on his Morning Drive segment. Danny, I watched it. And first and foremost, I want to apologize, man. I always bring you in after a loss. Let's get some positive vibes one day. We'll get one day.
We definitely will.
You talked about how RJ dropped 30 and Obi Toppin is getting back to rhythm, but that wasn't enough. Explain.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, when we had a full strength for the most part, at least, when a couple weeks back, I'll go right before Mitch went down, we were kind of rocking and rolling during that 8-game winning streak. We always, are going to touch back on that. Then you had followed by a losing streak, followed by, a little bit of a winning streak, but it felt like we were onto something, and we kind of just needed a spark, a catalyst to kind of take us to that next level, so with RJ coming back from injury around the corner, Obi also, coming back around the same time, I'm looking at those guys as, hoping to be a catalyst for this team and kind of get them over the hump, get them over, this stretch of games where they just don't have it in them to, kind of close it out. So I was looking for those two to kind of, be that catalyst that the Knicks needed to really energize them and get them through this second half of the season. But with both of them being back and the struggles kind of continuing, obviously with Mitch out as well, doesn't help. But I think they still need a little bit more, so the combination of those two guys coming back, I just felt like didn't take them, to that next step. So I think we're going to have to start looking towards the trade deadline to see if there's anything that could kind of bolster the roster a little bit.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the trade deadline because it feels like Knicks fans are talking about that February 9th trade deadline more than they're talking about Valentine's Day, which is right around that corner. But the Post has an article out about how Evan Fournier wants to be part of the solution. Cam Reddish has always been talked about when it's talking about being traded away. And there are reports on the internet about how Grayson Allen could be dealt to the Knicks. So what are your thoughts about the upcoming trade deadline? Who should stay, who should go, and who should come in?
Well, we definitely have to consolidate at some point, right? I mean, like you just mentioned, we have guys like Evan Fournier, he was a starter on the team last year, obviously fell out of rotation, defensive liability for some. Then you got a guy like Cam Reddish who, the aura around the whole Cam Reddish thing, to me, just it just blows my mind. You know what I mean? To spend a first round pick on him, bring him over, give him a shot, and then just really not feature him and give him more time to grow into a role, especially with that length, that athleticism that he does display. It's components that this Knicks team could use, especially against a team like Toronto Sunday night. So I think that we definitely got to consolidate. We got to move on from these guys if we're not going to utilize them. Cam Reddish has been DNP'd now 25 games. It's not doing anybody any good. So I definitely need to upgrade. Trade deadline, there's a couple options out there. You saw, you mentioned Grayson Allen this morning. I just saw that pop up as well. And it's an option. I'm looking for somebody who's going to come off the bench, who's defensive minded, who could still hit their shot. I think that's what we need, bench production, so that's what I'm looking to focus on. Is Grayson Allen it? I don't know. I think that he definitely could help. But I think that we need more. We just need more. Reggie Bullock's another guy that was mentioned. The defense, we obviously he was on the team two years ago. Defense is there. That's big with him. His shot was great for us 2 years ago. It's been inconsistent since, but there's not much out there. So it's a matter of just taking a swing at something to try to get this team over the next step. So that's what we got to look towards.
Yeah, and looking towards February 9th, that seems like a decade away, but especially with the Cavs and the Celtics coming up. Those are the next two matchups. If you're Tibbs, how do you coach this team to wins, and are you coaching like you're on the hot seat?
You gotta coach every single game like you're on the hot seat, especially in such a tight conference. You look at the standings and 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, they're all right there. They're really separated by maybe a game and a half, 2 games at most, that whole, bunch right there. So if we're looking to really put our foot down and make a run to get up towards the 5th seed, lock in the 6th seed and try to, do something with this season, we got to do something now, and, for Coach Tibbs, it's the same thing. We need these guys to play with extra effort every game, and we've been getting that, but it's like when we get to the 3rd, 4th quarters, it's the momentum is just sliding. It's not staying on our side. And I think those are things that Tibbs himself has to look at, not just the players. Absolutely, the players go into it, they play the game, but they got to be set up for in a position of success.
Danny B, I promise I'm going to get you on here after a Knicks
We'll
win,
do it.
a huge Knicks win. I know you're tired of talking about losses and stuff. Hey, thanks for joining us, my man.
Anytime, Brandon. Be good.